welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. Joby Houghtaling is here from the Pecos Valley Bassmasters. Let me close that, get that out of the way. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very good, thank you.
Hey, before we talk fishing, a couple of minutes. What a football game on Saturday afternoon at the Bowl.
It was. You know, the Farmington Scorpions being the number one ranked team, coming into the Bowl, and there in the first quarter, they had a couple things that worked in their favor in terms of getting those first two touchdowns. One was kind of not necessarily a blown coverage for the Bulldogs, the Farmington Scorpions' first touchdown, but I think we just didn't anticipate that kid's speed maybe. He caught it kind of a crossing route. We had three guys kind of there, but he was faster than our three guys. And so he kind of broke toward the sideline and then down the sideline for a long score. So I think the rest of the game, that our DBs were a little more, maybe the speed of them, they adjusted for that, played differently, got in different positions. The second touchdown that they got was after a big punt return that got them back down to our 20, and so they had a really short field. But really after that, I mean, they obviously didn't score again, and our defense just played lights out pretty much the rest of the game. They made some in-game adjustments, didn't wait till half. There were some adjustments made by our defensive staff that I know they made because I watched how they were playing.
Yep.
And it really just stymied their passing attack. They didn't run very effective either, which says a lot about our front three guys, because we really just put three guys down after that swing pass is what was killing us early. I mean, that one, like I said, there was a crossing pattern that they ended up scoring on, but they were getting some chunks of yards on their little swing pass in the first quarter. And even though they didn't just run it over and over and over again, and we forced them to punt several times, but after that first quarter, they really didn't get much out of that swing pass. And we didn't get heavy pressure on him because we started only rushing three. But then he would look and then look and then look. He was looking, there was just nobody open, and then we would get pressure. And so a couple of those interceptions were started by a defensive tackle or defensive lineman hitting him right as he threw the ball.
Yeah.
The one that was returned for a 95 or 96-yard touchdown was the case. He got hit. The quarterback did. And the ball kind of squandered on him, and our guys picked it off and ran the other way. So
I think one of the best pass plays that we had was not a touchdown, but it was that throw across the middle where the receiver just kind of stuck his hand out and somehow he was able to haul it in. That was such a beautiful play.
It was a great house. One of our sophomores. We're actually a pretty young team. A lot of sophomores and juniors starting for the Bulldogs, which really bodes well for the future. And also knowing what we have coming up in the 8th and 9th grade levels, because I got to see them play this year. My nephew is an 8th grader, and his team is just about as good as I've seen at the 8th grade level in a long time. So it's exciting. They got a lot of size, too, and so do the freshman class. But, Great House is a really exceptional athlete, and he made a Sports Center catch, stretched out there. Taylor had overthrown him just a little.
Right.
But really, you could say he didn't overthrow him because we caught the ball. But it wasn't just hit him in stride kind of a throw, and he laid it out in front of him, and Great House stuck that right hand out there. It was like it just stuck. And it caused him to stumble a little, or he would have scored because he's really fast.
Yeah.
He's one of our. He's probably not the fastest guy in Artesia, but he's one of them, and he had to stumble a little bit because of the way the balance. I think it's the ball hit his hand, but he's obviously got bigger than good enough size hands that he was able to one hand that thing, and so anyway, it was a very pretty play. You're right.
And I thought, hey, Goddard's got a shot. They're up 21-7 in that game and didn't score again the rest of the game. And Los Lunas comes back in the second half and wins. But for a little while there, it looked like we might be playing Goddard in Roswell for the state championship. But Goddard they've played Los Lunas every year now, a couple times a year for the last few years, and that is their roadblock right now. They can't seem to get past Los Lunas, but Los Lunas is a pretty good football team, so it should be a good game on Saturday.
Should be a good game. They're a good football team. They're big, and they're a pretty good chance that Farmington and Los Lunas will be in 6A next year. Actually, they're big schools that I think
Is this the year
I think so,
okay.
and I think they're both going to move up to 6A. So that tells you a little bit about those two schools. They got a lot more athletes to choose from, and they got some size in their athletes and some speed, and that more mirrors what you see at the 6A level, just because of the number of students that are there, the population, and just naturally you got more students, you got more kids to choose from, but yeah, Los Lunas has been tough. For the last, when Coach Maupin went there, he kind of turned that program around because we played them back in 2015 or 14, can't remember, and maybe 16 or 17, somewhere in that range. In one of our state championship runs, we were back-to-back, I think, in 14 and 15. Then we didn't win in 16, then we won in 17. So somewhere in there, they had a running back named Omari Samuels. You might remember him, and he was a D1 prospect. He signed with Michigan.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
Really good running back, but they came, and that's why we owe them, because they came here for a game. So I don't remember when it was, what year it was, but he's now a starting running back in New Mexico State. He ended up leaving Michigan, and now he's a starting running back, or one of the running backs in New Mexico State. So he's definitely a D1 athlete. We shut him down. I don't think Coach Maupin was there yet, so it was. I'm not sure of the years, but we ended up winning the state title that year.
Yeah,
whichever year it was, one of those three, either 14, 15, or 17. Which, and I always look at years based on who the quarterback was. It's just how I do it, because we have a lot of quarterbacks in our family. So 14, 15, my nephew Justin was a quarterback, and then in 17, it was John Ross Knoll's son, Taylor Knoll. But in any case, they're not necessarily one-dimensional, because Coach Maupin, when he went there, their system was, we're seeing their system right now.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like ours, but they really match up well with Goddard. And so it did shock me to see that score when you guys were telling Robbie and I. We were getting it from a lot of different angles, but they're at the bowl Saturday. But shocked me a little bit. I didn't buy the NFHS ticket, so I didn't watch it, and I didn't go back and listen to our broadcast. But I don't know if Goddard had some passing plays that were, because sometimes those running teams like Goddard, they just run right, run left, run right, and then all of a sudden
they'll sneak one,
they sneak a pass, and nobody's over the top, and he scores real easy. I don't know if that happened, or Los Lunas just didn't stop him initially, but they obviously stopped him the rest of the game. After those 21 points, and because they just match up physically with Goddard. Goddard's always been a tough team for Artesia to match up with, because they're usually bigger than us, it seems like. And they just pound that ball. This year, our defense is just playing at a level that's really high, and probably the highest level, I think, since the mid-2000s, when we had a D1 linebacker in Dallas Bullum. I think it's probably the best defense since then, back in 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range, 2007, 8, 9. So when our defense is playing like it is right now, both secondary and against the run, we're just going to be tough to beat. But as you said, Los Lunas is big, they're good, so going to have to play their best game.
Going to have to do that. And in case you're wondering, the last time we played Los Lunas in the playoffs was in Los Lunas, but that was like a quarterfinal game.
That's
it wasn't a semifinal or a championship game.
That's right.
And so when they look at the prior history, they don't look at the total playoff history. They just look at the semifinals and finals.
For the who owes who.
Who owes who. And so because of the game you mentioned, that's why we're going over to there.
Right, which was a year
Saturday.
or two before that game. And that game, I think, was in 2018 that we went up there and got beat. It was either 2018 or 2019. Let's see, 2020 was the year that we didn't have 2019. So it was 2018 when we went, because we went to Capital. If you recall, I think we got the ninth seed or something that year. We ended up going 0-3 in district. And so we had to go to, I think we played at Capital. You and I went up there.
In the first round game.
In the first round game away.
That's right. And then we
went to Los Lunas.
Right.
And that was a quarterfinal.
And got beat there and didn't go on.
And that was Coach Maupin was at Los Lunas. He ended up playing in the state game his team.
Against Roswell High.
Against Roswell High. And then the next year they played. So it was, let's see, it must have been 17 and 18. I don't know. I lose track. But they
get to the state game and got beat by Coach Lynn and the Roswell Coyotes.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
2 years that Roswell High was back-to-back state champions. Jeremy, or Los Lunas, Coach Maupin was runner-up 2 years in a row at Los Lunas.
So we'll see what happens. We're not going to be able to do video, folks. That's going to be on the NFHS network. They're going to hire a crew and send announcing crew and a video crew to do that. So if you want to watch it, you got to buy their subscription. But we're going to do radio coverage, and we'll have it on our social media and all that kind of stuff. So we'll at least have coverage of the game if you want to try to match up Joby and Robbie's call with on the video. And so it's kind of exciting. We've got about 5 minutes left. I'm sorry. I had to ask you about the football game because it's always good to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anything happening this month with the Pecos Valley Bassmasters?
Nothing scheduled right now. I said this last Monday. I'm trying to find a date that I can make work, that hopefully a lot of our members can make work, to maybe have a meeting in December. But if not, we're definitely going to have a meeting the first week or two in January to discuss 2022 season.
Mm-hmm.
The New Mexico Bass Nation, which we are a part of, we're a member of that organization as a club, and that I'm the treasurer for. We're actually having a meeting Saturday, which I've already told them I couldn't be there.
Well, thank you.
For two reasons.
And your brother changed the time. Changed his basketball game.
Yeah,
that was Saturday,
right?
So.
And that was known going in. They knew that. Coach Henderson, as the AD,
Mm-hmm.
is either heavily involved or writes the schedules. For all the teams for Artesia. But I think he works with the head coach, and they just look at the schedules. And so because I asked Jeff about it, and he said, we asked them when the schedule was written, we told them that would be the state championship weekend, and if the Bulldogs are in it, we do not want to play on Saturday. Can we move it to Friday? And they agreed that way when they all signed the contract.
Sure.
So, because I thought maybe that it just happened just now, but Jeff, who's the head coach for the girls basketball team, told me no. He said we actually set that up, back when, so summertime probably, or maybe even last spring.
Yeah, I mean Saturday afternoon would be preferable for making that trip.
Right.
But
he's going to try to do it Friday afternoon.
Okay.
That's what they're going to ask, or he was going to ask Coach Henderson this morning to see if Pebble Hills, which is the kind of a new high school in El Paso on the east side, to, instead of doing it Friday night, which would be maybe the normal inclination, they were scheduled Saturday afternoon, move it to Friday, and Jeff's going to ask them to do it Friday afternoon. So it's the day after Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. Who knows what they'll say. It's already in their contract that they'll move it, but he doesn't know if it'll be at night or in the afternoon. He's pushing for it to be in the afternoon so they can get home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they can come on home. Instead of getting home at 3 in the morning, they can get home it wouldn't be that late.
A reasonable time, yeah.
But yeah, they can get home that evening at 7 or 8 or 9, So
yeah, that'll be good. We'll see what happens with that. But as far as your fishing meeting is concerned, you're not going to that one.
Well, and they had it. I was a little aggravated because
you need to put that in all contracts.
That they put it that the new president. We've had some changeover, as I've talked about at the state level with our officers, and with the exception of me, I'm the only officer that didn't change. On the executive committee or the executive officers. But our president scheduled it for that Saturday, which is Thanksgiving weekend. And I told him, I didn't even mention football. I just made the decision the minute I saw it. I was like, well, that's aggravating. We're going to have family in. I'm not going to do it. And he wanted it in person in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to drive to Albuquerque. If they, so I had told them already that I would not be there. And it works out because I knew we would probably be in the state game, but so I'm not going to be on that call. I am going to supply the treasurer's reports. They can read it. They can look it over. And then I have sent the executive committee and the directors for New Mexico Bass Nation a plan that I have been working on this summer for sponsorships to go out and solicit some major sponsors for New Mexico Bass Nation. I thought when I came in last year as a treasurer, I looked at the landscape. I hadn't been involved. I looked at the landscape and I thought, we're a pretty big organization. I think we've got some opportunity here to go get some major sponsors. On the national level, BASS obviously has big sponsors, and they do some stuff at the state levels, which is good. But the states can do stuff too. Mm-hmm. And our state has done things in the past, I found out, but they were pretty I don't think there was ever a plan put together. It was just members that had businesses that maybe would donate, you know, and sponsor, and then get their logo on our shirt or something, the team shirt. But I put together a fairly comprehensive plan that needs tweaking, but I put it together this summer before I knew that there was going to be a big changeover in officers. So the only ones that had seen it was the then current president and vice president,
who are coming off the
but now they're off.
Yeah.
So I sent it out. The directors hadn't seen it yet. My plan was and the then current president and vice president, because I was the secretary and treasurer, so there was basically 3 people covering the 4 executive committee positions. So anyway, I sent that out to the directors and the new executive committee, so maybe they'll discuss that, and maybe we can get some major sponsors this year.
That'd be helpful as you look ahead to the tournament schedule for next year.
Right, for the New Mexico Bass Nation, and also sending guys on to nationals.
That's right. And then, of course, you've got the Pecos Valley Bassmaster schedule that working on and getting that ready to go as well. So. Right. Well, good deal. Folks want to reach out, maybe ask some questions, join the Pecos Valley Bassmasters for next year, they can reach out to you.
pvbm.club. There's a join tab there. You can learn about us, read about us. You can look at our past seasons. I think it's pretty much all the way updated now. I got all that done, a month or so ago. And so you can see a lot of information at pvbm.club. You can also follow us at Pecos Valley Bassmasters on Facebook.
Joby, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to the game on Saturday.
I do too.
All right, that's going to be it for the show